My beloved brothers and sisters, what do you do when every door closes, every plan fails, and you genuinely cannot see a way forward? That is the moment fear says, it is over. But faith says, Allah does not need a visible road to create a way. You may see a dead end. Allah sees what comes after it. So if your life feels impossible right now, do not give up. The way you cannot see may already be the way Allah is preparing. Allah does not need the door you are waiting for. My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes we are not losing faith in Allah. We are losing faith because Allah did not use the route we expected. You prayed for one particular job. You expected one particular person to help you. You believed one relationship would last. You were certain one opportunity would change everything. Then suddenly that door closed and your heart said, now what? There is no other way. But who told you that Allah needed that door? وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. This is where trust becomes real. Allah is not limited by the solution you imagined. He is not dependent upon the person you thought you needed. He is not restricted by the opportunity you lost. You see one road because you are standing in one moment of your life, but Allah knows every road that can lead you forward. Sometimes you keep knocking on a closed door because you have convinced yourself that your happiness is behind it. You knock harder, you make more calls, you chase the person, you keep trying to revive something that repeatedly collapses. And when it still does not open, you think Allah is withholding goodness from you. But perhaps Allah knows exactly what is behind that door. Perhaps opening it would give you what you want today and take away your peace tomorrow. Perhaps the person you are begging to remain would eventually become the reason you lose yourself. Perhaps the opportunity you are crying over would have taken you somewhere you were never meant to remain. This is why a closed door is not always bad news. Sometimes Allah's protection sounds like no. Sometimes His guidance looks like disappointment. Sometimes His answer comes by removing the very thing you thought was the answer. And later, when another path opens, you finally understand why the first one had to close. Think about your own life. There are probably things you once desperately wanted that you would never ask for today. At that time, you could not understand the rejection. Now you can see the protection. So why do you believe today's disappointment cannot also contain wisdom that tomorrow will reveal? My beloved brothers and sisters, when the door closes, do not sit beside it until you destroy yourself. Pray. Think. Take another step. Look in another direction. Keep doing what is right, because Allah may not reopen the door you wanted. He may do something far greater. He may show you that you never needed that door in the first place. A delay does not mean Allah has forgotten you. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the hardest tests is not hearing no. Sometimes the hardest test is hearing nothing at all. You have made dua, you have waited, you have tried. You have watched other people receive what you have been asking for, while your own situation seems exactly the same. And eventually the heart begins whispering, why has nothing happened for me? This is where you must be very careful, because delay can make you question the one who already knows exactly what you need. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Your waiting is not proof that Allah has forgotten you. Sometimes Allah delays something because you are not yet ready to carry it. Sometimes the blessing is ready for you, but the circumstances surrounding it are still being arranged. And sometimes Allah knows that receiving what you want today would create a problem you cannot yet see. You are looking at the blessing. Allah knows everything that comes with it. You are asking for the relationship, but Allah knows the person's future character. You are asking for the opportunity, but Allah knows where that opportunity will lead you. You are asking for immediate relief, but Allah knows what this difficult season is developing inside you. And this is why faith cannot depend upon speed. If Allah gives quickly, you are grateful. If Allah makes you wait, you remain grateful. If Allah redirects you completely, you still trust Him. Because you are not trusting a timetable, you are trusting Allah. Sometimes you look at somebody else's life and say, they received it so quickly, why am I still waiting? Do not compare your timing with theirs. You do not know their test, and they do not know yours. The blessing that came quickly to someone else may carry responsibilities you cannot see, while the delay that frustrates you may be protecting you from something you cannot see. So keep taking the right steps, keep making dua, keep working, Keep improving yourself, but do not allow waiting to turn into hopelessness. My beloved brothers and sisters, perhaps one day the answer will arrive and you will finally understand why it could not have come earlier. And perhaps you will look back at the delay you once cried about and say, Allah knew exactly when I needed it. So when you cannot see the way forward, remember, sometimes Allah has not closed the road. He is simply asking you to trust Him while you wait for the right moment to move. Sometimes Allah blocks the way because He knows where it leads. My beloved brothers and sisters, have you ever begged Allah for something only to watch it move further and further away from you? You tried harder, prayed longer, searched for another solution, and still the door remained closed. And perhaps you wondered, why would Allah stop something I want so badly? But consider this. You are asking Allah to open a door because you can see the entrance. Allah knows where that door eventually leads. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. Sometimes what breaks your heart today is protecting your life tomorrow. You wanted that person to stay, but Allah knew what remaining attached to them would eventually do to your peace. You wanted that opportunity desperately, but Allah knew what it would demand from you later. You wanted everything to happen according to your plan, but Allah knew that your plan could take you somewhere you would eventually beg Him to rescue you from. This is why not every obstacle should make you think Allah is against me. Sometimes the obstacle itself is mercy. Imagine driving toward a road and suddenly discovering that it has been blocked. You become frustrated because now you must take another route. But what if you later discover there was danger further ahead? Suddenly the roadblock looks completely different. Nothing about the roadblock changed. What changed was your knowledge. And that is often how life works. Today you see disappointment. Tomorrow you may see protection. Today you see rejection. Tomorrow you may understand redirection. Today you are crying because something did not happen. Years later you may thank Allah that it never did. So do not force every door simply because your heart has become attached to what is behind it. Make your effort. Make your dua. Seek what is good. But leave enough room in your heart to say, Allah, if this is not good for me, take me somewhere better even if I do not understand it yet. That is trust. Trust is not believing that Allah will always give you exactly what you planned. Trust is knowing that when your plan fails, Allah has not failed you. My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes Allah makes a way by opening a door. And sometimes He makes a way by firmly closing the door that would have taken you in the wrong direction. Allah can change everything through one unexpected moment. My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes your problem looks so big that you begin believing the solution must also be big. You think you need 10 things to change, several people to help you, every door to open, and your entire situation to somehow rearrange itself before you can breathe again. But never underestimate what Allah can change through one moment. One phone call can change your direction. One meeting can introduce an opportunity you never knew existed. One decision can remove you from years of difficulty. One person can enter your life at exactly the right time. One door can open after 100 doors appeared to be closed. Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Your situation may look impossible to you, but it is never impossible for Allah. And this is where we sometimes make a mistake. We look at today's circumstances and use them to predict our entire future. You say nothing is working today, so nothing will ever work. You say nobody is helping me now, so nobody will ever come. You say this door closed, therefore there is nowhere else to go. But who gave today permission to decide tomorrow? You do not know what Allah can place in your path before this week ends, before this month ends, or even before this day ends. Think about how quickly life has changed before. There were moments you never planned that became important chapters of your story. People you met unexpectedly. Opportunities you almost missed. Difficulties that suddenly became easier because something happened that you could never have arranged yourself. So when you see no way, do not become hopeless simply because you cannot calculate the solution. Your responsibility is not to control every detail of how relief will arrive. Your responsibility is to keep moving correctly while trusting Allah with what you cannot control. If there is an application to make it. If there is somebody appropriate to ask for help, ask. If you need to learn something, learn it. If you made a mistake, correct it. If another halal path appears, consider it. Trust in Allah does not mean sitting still and saying something will happen. You take the steps available to you even when they appear small, because sometimes the small step you nearly ignored becomes the beginning of the way you are asking Allah to show you. And do not become obsessed with knowing exactly how everything will happen. We exhaust ourselves with this question: how? How will I get through this? How will this problem be solved? How will I recover from this loss? How will another opportunity come? How will my life ever become normal again? You may not have the answer, and perhaps you do not need the answer today. You only need enough faith to take the next right step. My beloved brothers and sisters, never declare your story finished while Allah is still writing it. The situation that has not changed for months can change through one event you never saw coming. The road that looks completely blocked can open from a direction you were not even watching. So when your mind says, "I cannot see any way," remind yourself, not seeing the way does not mean there is no way. Sometimes Allah only needs one unexpected moment to change everything. Trust Allah most when you cannot control the outcome. My beloved brothers and sisters, there comes a point in every difficult situation where you realize something painful. You have done what you can, but you still cannot control what happens next. You cannot force someone to choose you. You cannot force an employer to say yes. You cannot force a door to open. You cannot force tomorrow to arrive with the answer you want. And this is exactly where many people lose their peace, because they keep trying to control what Allah never placed in their hands. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Trust is not doing nothing. Trust is doing what belongs to you and leaving what does not belong to you with Allah. Your effort belongs to you. Your honesty belongs to you. Your prayer belongs to you. Your patience belongs to you. Your decisions belong to you. But the final outcome does not. And there is tremendous peace in understanding that difference. Sometimes you have already made the application. You have already apologized. You have already asked for help. You have already taken the responsible steps, but your mind keeps replaying the situation at night, as though worrying harder will somehow change the result. It will not. Worry can exhaust you without moving the outcome even 1 inch. This is why faith gives the heart somewhere to place what it cannot carry. You say, "Allah, I have done what I can. I leave what I cannot control with you." That does not make the problem disappear immediately, but it changes the way the problem lives inside you. You stop waking up every morning trying to predict every possible disaster. You stop checking constantly for signs that everything is about to go wrong. You stop believing that your entire future depends on one decision made by another human being. Because people may control a door, but they do not control your destiny. A person may reject you, but they cannot reject what Allah has written for you. A company may say no, but that does not mean provision has ended. A relationship may end, but that does not mean love, companionship, or happiness have ended forever. One road can close without your whole journey ending. My beloved brothers and sisters, many of us say, "I trust Allah," but then spend every hour trying to control every detail. Sometimes trust means loosening your grip, not because you have stopped caring, because you have finally understood who is actually in control. And if the answer comes the way you hoped, thank Allah. If the answer comes differently, trust Allah. If the answer takes longer, keep walking with Allah. Do not let uncertainty destroy your character. Do not choose what is wrong simply because waiting became difficult. Do not run toward a harmful shortcut because the halal way seems slow. A delayed answer is still better than a quick decision that pulls you away from Allah. So when you reach that point where you genuinely cannot do anything more, do not mistake helplessness for hopelessness. Perhaps that is the moment you finally learn what surrender really means. You do your part, you leave the rest with Allah. And sometimes the peace you were searching for does not come when you finally control the situation. It comes when you finally accept that you never had to control everything in the first place. The impossible season may be building the strongest version of you. My beloved brothers and sisters, sometimes you keep asking Allah to change your situation, but perhaps Allah is using the situation to change you first. You are asking, when will this hardship end? Why is this taking so long? Why does everything still feel difficult? But what if the delay is not empty? What if something is being built inside you that could never have been built in comfort? Inna ma'al usri yusra. Difficulty has a way of revealing things about us that ease often hides. When life is comfortable, you may think you are patient. Then something is delayed, and suddenly you discover how quickly frustration enters your heart. You may think your trust in Allah is strong. Then the plan collapses, and suddenly you discover how much your heart had actually been relying on the plan. You may think you are emotionally strong. Then someone leaves, something fails, or an opportunity disappears, and you begin discovering where your deepest attachments really were. This is why hardship can become a mirror. It shows you what is inside, and once you see what is inside, you can begin working on it. Perhaps before this test, you depended too much on people. Now you are learning to depend more deeply on Allah. Perhaps before this test, you expected everything quickly. Now you are learning patience. Perhaps before this test, you made decisions emotionally. Now you are learning to pause, think, pray, and choose with wisdom. Perhaps before this test, you believed your life would only be good if one particular thing happened. Now Allah is teaching you that your future is much bigger than one outcome. And this is where real growth happens. Not when everything goes your way, but when things do not go your way, and you still refuse to lose yourself. You still pray, you still try, you still behave with dignity, you still avoid what is wrong, you still speak well, you still get up in the morning, you still carry your responsibilities even though your heart feels heavy. That is strength. Sometimes we imagine strength as feeling no pain, but that is not strength. Strength is feeling pain and still choosing what is right. Strength is being disappointed and still refusing to become bitter. Strength is being delayed and still refusing to become hopeless. Strength is not seeing the answer and still believing that Allah has not abandoned you. Think about the person you were before some of your hardest experiences. Perhaps you worried about things today that no longer frighten you. Perhaps one rejection used to destroy you. Now you understand that rejection can redirect you. Perhaps you once thought you could not survive without a certain person. Now you know that you did survive. Perhaps you once believed one failure meant the end of your life. Now you understand that failure can become the beginning of a completely different direction. How did you learn that? Not from comfort. You learned it because Allah allowed you to walk through something difficult and then showed you that you were capable of continuing. This is why you should never judge yourself only by how exhausted you feel in the middle of a test. A person can feel weak while becoming stronger. A person can cry while healing. A person can feel confused while being guided toward clarity. A person can feel as though everything is falling apart while Allah is quietly rebuilding priorities, habits, relationships, and faith. Growth does not always feel like growth while it is happening. Sometimes growth feels like losing things. Sometimes it feels like waiting. Sometimes it feels like being forced to begin again. Sometimes it feels like saying goodbye to a version of your life that you thought would last forever. But later, you begin seeing what the hardship produced. You became more careful about who you trust. You became more grateful for small blessings. You became less desperate for people's approval. You became stronger in prayer. You learned to say no. You learned how to sit with uncertainty. You learned that being alone for a season does not mean your life is empty. You learned that your peace cannot depend on everybody treating you correctly. And perhaps none of that would have happened if Allah had immediately removed every difficulty the moment you asked. There are lessons that only become clear after you have been stretched. Imagine someone asking Allah for a great responsibility, a larger opportunity, or a better future. But what if that future requires a level of patience they do not yet have? What if it requires discipline they have not developed? What if it requires emotional maturity? What if it requires the ability to remain calm under pressure? Then perhaps the current season is not delaying the next chapter. Perhaps it is preparing you for it. Because receiving something is one thing, being able to carry it is another. Sometimes Allah has to strengthen your shoulders before placing something heavier upon them, and that strengthening process may not feel pleasant. This is why you should not only ask, when will this end? Also ask, what am I supposed to learn before it ends? That question changes everything, because now the hardship is not only something you are trying to escape, it becomes something you are trying to understand. Maybe you need to learn how to stop overthinking. Maybe you need to learn how to set boundaries. Maybe you need to learn how to forgive without returning to the same harmful cycle. Maybe you need to learn how to work consistently, even when nobody is encouraging you. Maybe you need to learn how to trust Allah without needing immediate proof that everything will be fine. Those lessons can change the rest of your life. And please remember, growth does not mean you must pretend the hardship is easy. You are allowed to feel tired. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to admit that something hurts. Faith does not require you to act as though pain does not exist. The believer can feel pain and still have hope. The believer can say this is difficult while also saying Allah will help me through it. Those two things can exist together. Do not shame yourself for feeling heavy. Just do not allow heaviness to convince you that the story is over. And another thing, do not compare your difficult season with somebody else's easy-looking season. You do not know what Allah is building in their life, and they do not know what He is building in yours. Some people receive things quickly and are tested with how they use them. Others wait and are tested with patience. Some lose people. Some lose opportunities. Some struggle financially. Some struggle privately in ways nobody sees. Everybody has a test. So stop asking, why is my journey different? It is different because your lessons are different. My beloved brothers and sisters, if life feels impossible right now, perhaps you are not only being shown that Allah can make a way, perhaps you are being prepared to become someone who will walk that way differently. Someone more patient, more grateful, more disciplined, more careful, more dependent on Allah, more difficult to break. And one day, when the door finally opens, you may realize that the greatest blessing was not only that Allah changed your circumstances. The greater blessing was that while you were waiting for the way to appear, Allah changed the person who would eventually walk through it. When you see no way, remember who controls every way. My beloved brothers and sisters, there comes a moment in some tests when you have prayed, tried, waited, asked for advice, taken every reasonable step, and still you stand there saying, I genuinely cannot see a way out of this. And perhaps that is the moment when faith is tested most deeply, because trusting Allah when you can already see the solution is one thing. Trusting Allah when every calculation tells you there is no solution is something completely different. You look ahead and see a wall. Allah knows what is beyond the wall. You see a closed door. Allah knows doors you have never approached. You see the people who said no. Allah knows the person who may eventually say yes. You see what has been taken from you. Allah knows what can still be given to you. And you see only this moment, while Allah knows the entire journey. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Sometimes we make our peace dependent upon understanding exactly how Allah will solve the problem. We say, I trust Allah, but how will this happen? How will I find another opportunity? How will I recover from this? How will I manage financially? How will I rebuild after losing so much? How will my heart ever become peaceful again? We want Allah to give us the entire map before we agree to continue walking. But faith does not always come with a map. Sometimes Allah gives you enough light for one step. And when you take that step, you see enough for another, then another, then another, until one day you look behind you and realize that Allah brought you through a road you could never have planned from the beginning. This is why you should stop demanding that your mind understand everything before your heart trusts Allah. Your mind is limited by what it knows. Allah is not. Your mind calculates using the people, resources, opportunities, and circumstances that currently exist around you. Allah can change those circumstances. You may say there is nobody who can help me, but you do not know whom Allah may bring into your life tomorrow. You may say there is no opportunity, but you do not know which opportunity is being prepared outside your awareness. You may say, I have lost too much to begin again. But sometimes the person who begins again with wisdom is stronger than the person who never had to begin again at all. Never turn today's circumstances into a permanent prophecy about your future. Today is not forever. The person who rejected you today does not control tomorrow. The door that closed today does not control every door. The mistake you made yesterday does not have to define the person you become tomorrow. The chapter you are struggling through is not the entire book. Sometimes we speak about our difficulties as though they have become our identity. My life is finished. I will always be alone. I will never recover. Nothing good ever happens for me. Be careful with these statements. Pain speaks in absolutes. Faith teaches you to leave room for Allah. You may be struggling today, but you do not know what Allah has written for tomorrow. You may be lonely today, but you do not know who will eventually enter your life. You may be financially stretched today, but you do not know which doors of provision Allah may open. You may be carrying heartbreak today, but you do not know how peaceful your heart may become after healing. You may feel lost today, but sometimes being redirected initially feels exactly like being lost. So leave room for Allah to surprise you. And remember, Allah making a way does not always mean Allah will restore exactly what you lost. This is important. Sometimes you say, Allah will make a way, and in your mind that means the person will return. Perhaps they will not. Sometimes it means the job you lost will come back. Perhaps it will not. Sometimes it means the plan that collapsed will somehow be repaired exactly as you imagined. Perhaps that is not the way Allah chooses. Allah making a way may mean giving you the strength to walk away from what you thought you could never live without. It may mean giving you something different. It may mean changing your priorities. It may mean showing you that the thing you were desperately trying to recover was not where your future was meant to be. Sometimes the miracle is not getting the old life back. Sometimes the miracle is no longer wanting it back. Think about that. There may be something today that you are begging Allah to restore, but perhaps months or years from now, you will realize that Allah's mercy was taking you forward rather than sending you backward. We often ask Allah to repair yesterday. Allah may be preparing tomorrow. Do not become so attached to one version of the answer that you fail to recognize the answer when it arrives differently. And when you see no way, do not allow desperation to push you toward what is wrong. This is one of the greatest dangers of hardship. When people become frightened enough, they begin compromising. They say, I know this is wrong, but I have no choice. They enter relationships they know will damage them because they are afraid of loneliness. They accept dishonest opportunities because they are afraid provision will never come another way. They abandon their principles because the correct path appears too slow. They make decisions in panic and then spend years repairing what one desperate moment created. My beloved brothers and sisters, difficulty does not make what is wrong become right. If one door requires you to sacrifice your relationship with Allah in order to enter it, perhaps that is not the door you should be begging to open. Trust Allah enough to refuse the wrong way, even when you cannot yet see the right way. That is powerful trust. Anyone can refuse the wrong door when 10 better doors are already open. But when every door appears closed and you still say, I will not disobey Allah just because I am afraid, that is when your faith speaks loudly. Sometimes the test is not whether Allah will make a way. The test is whether you will remain faithful while waiting for that way. Will you remain honest when dishonesty appears easier? Will you remain patient when shortcuts appear faster? Will you maintain your character when frustration tells you to become bitter? Will you continue praying when the answer has not arrived? Will you still believe that Allah knows what He is doing when your own plan has completely fallen apart? These are the moments that shape a believer. And do not think that trusting Allah means you stop taking action. If you need work, search for work. If you need knowledge, learn. If you need advice, speak to trustworthy people. If you need to apologize, apologize. If you need to leave a harmful environment safely, take the appropriate steps. If you failed, learn why you failed and try differently. If one approach did not work, look for another lawful approach. You move, you work, you plan, you improve. But your heart understands that your effort is a means, not the source of the result. This balance is beautiful. Your hands are working while your heart is trusting. You take action without believing that action itself controls everything. You prepare carefully without believing that your preparation guarantees the outcome. You ask people for appropriate help without believing that those people control your destiny. And if Allah allows one means to disappear, you do not collapse as though Allah disappeared with it. The means changed, Allah did not. The person left, Allah did not. The opportunity ended, Allah did not. Your plan failed, Allah did not. Remember that when something you depended upon suddenly disappears, sometimes your heart becomes attached to the means and forgets the one who provided the means. You say that person is my only chance. Who gave that person the ability to help you? You say that job is my only source of provision. Who provided before that job existed? You say this relationship is the only way I will ever be happy. Who created your heart and knows what will truly bring peace to it? People are means, opportunities are means, money is a means, your abilities are means. But Allah is the one who controls what those means can and cannot do. So if one means disappears, do not behave as though every possibility has disappeared with it. Perhaps Allah wants to teach you that provision can arrive from another direction. Perhaps help can arrive through another person. Perhaps peace can arrive without the thing you thought you needed. Perhaps your future can be beautiful in a form you never imagined. And sometimes, my beloved brothers and sisters, the way Allah makes is not immediately outside you. Sometimes He first makes a way inside you. You thought you needed the situation to change before you could breathe again. But Allah gives you patience before changing the situation. You thought you needed the person to apologize before you could heal. But Allah teaches you how to heal without waiting for their apology. You thought you needed everybody to understand you. But Allah gives you enough confidence to stop explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. You thought you needed the fear to disappear. But Allah gives you courage while the fear is still there. That is also a way. Do not overlook internal relief because you are only waiting for external relief. Sometimes the first sign that Allah is bringing you out of a hardship is not that the circumstances change. It is that the circumstances no longer control your heart the way they once did. Yesterday the problem consumed your entire day. Today you can breathe. Yesterday you could not sleep. Today you can pray and hand some of that worry back to Allah. Yesterday you thought you would never survive without something. Today you are beginning to realize that perhaps you can. The situation may look similar from the outside, but something inside you has already started changing. And when the heart changes, the way you walk through the test changes. This is why some people go through enormous difficulty and emerge with remarkable peace. They did not discover a life without problems. They discovered where to place their problems. They stopped carrying tomorrow before tomorrow arrived. They stopped trying to answer questions Allah had not yet answered. They learned to say, today I will do what I can. Tomorrow belongs to Allah. Imagine how much lighter your heart would become if you lived like that. Today you pray. Today you work. Today you behave correctly. Today you take the next step. And when your mind travels 6 months into the future and begins inventing disasters, you bring it back. You remind yourself, I am not living 6 months from now. Allah will give me what I need when I reach that day. Many people suffer twice. They suffer from the difficulty that exists today, and then they suffer from 10 imaginary difficulties that may never happen tomorrow. Do not allow fear to make you live through problems Allah has not even sent you. Trust Him one day at a time, one step at a time, one prayer at a time, one decision at a time. And if tomorrow brings another test, the Allah who helped you today will still be there tomorrow. Look back at your own life. How many moments did you once believe you would never survive? And yet here you are. There were nights you thought would never end. They ended. There were people you thought you could never live without. You continued. There were disappointments you thought would permanently destroy your happiness. Slowly life moved. There were situations where you had absolutely no idea what to do next. And somehow, step by step, a way appeared. Perhaps not the way you wanted. Perhaps not according to your timing. Perhaps not without tears. But you reached today. So when your current problem tells you, this time there is no way, remind yourself how many times fear has told you that before. You do not need to know exactly how Allah will bring you through. You need to remember that He has brought you through before. And please understand something else. Sometimes the way Allah makes includes asking other people for help. Trust in Allah does not mean isolating yourself. If you need advice, seek it. If you need professional assistance, seek it. If you need support from trustworthy family or friends, ask. If the situation requires expertise, go to people with expertise. Allah can make a way through people as well. The mistake is not asking people. The mistake is believing that people are the ultimate source rather than a means Allah may use. So use the means Allah has placed around you while keeping your heart attached to Him. And then there are moments when every available means seems exhausted. That is when you must guard your thoughts carefully. Do not say, Allah has abandoned me. Do not say my dua was useless. Do not say there is no hope. You do not know what is happening beyond what you can see. There are things Allah may be protecting you from that you will never know about. There are timings you will only understand later. There are people being moved into place. There are circumstances changing. There are lessons developing inside you. You see silence and assume nothing is happening. But silence does not mean inactivity. Sometimes the most important parts of your story are developing where you cannot see them. A seed beneath the soil appears to be doing nothing, but roots are forming. And without those hidden roots, what appears later cannot stand. Perhaps this season is forming roots. Perhaps patience is forming. Perhaps discipline is forming. Perhaps your relationship with Allah is becoming deeper. Perhaps you are finally learning that you can lose something without losing yourself. Perhaps you are learning that Allah can close one chapter without ending your story. Do not despise the hidden work simply because you cannot display the result yet. And my beloved brothers and sisters, there may come a day when Allah opens the way. Perhaps it happens suddenly, perhaps gradually, perhaps through something you never expected. And when that day comes, do not forget the person you were while waiting. Do not forget the prayers you made when nobody knew what you were carrying. Do not forget how helpless you felt. Do not forget the lessons, because sometimes people remember Allah intensely while the door is closed and then become distracted the moment it opens. Do not let relief take you away from the one you called upon during difficulty. If Allah gives you the opportunity, remain grateful. If Allah restores your peace, remain close to Him. If Allah brings better people, treat them well. If Allah increases your provision, use it responsibly. If Allah brings you out of the darkness, remember what the darkness taught you, because perhaps the purpose of the hardship was not simply to get you to the other side. Perhaps it was to make sure a different version of you arrived there, a version that knows where provision comes from, a version that does not collapse when people leave, a version that understands that closed doors are not the end, a version that knows how to wait without abandoning faith, a version that has learned that Allah can make a way where the human mind sees absolutely none. Near the end of this lesson, my beloved brothers and sisters, I want you to remember one sentence whenever your heart becomes overwhelmed. Do not confuse "I cannot see a way" with "Allah cannot make a way." Those are not the same thing. You cannot see tomorrow. Allah knows tomorrow. You cannot see what is inside people's hearts. Allah knows. You cannot see every opportunity that will exist next month. Allah knows. You cannot see the wisdom behind every delay. Allah knows. Your knowledge ends. Allah's knowledge does not. Your options appear limited. Allah's power is not. So when every calculation fails, when every familiar door closes, when you have done what you can, and you genuinely do not know what happens next, this is not the moment to abandon Allah. This is the moment to hold on more tightly. Keep your prayer. Keep your integrity. Keep taking lawful steps. Keep your heart away from despair. And keep enough space inside your expectations for Allah to answer you in a way you never imagined. Because perhaps the greatest surprise waiting for you is not that Allah will reopen the road you lost. Perhaps He will show you a road you never knew existed. And one day, you may stand in a place you once thought you would never reach, remembering the night when you whispered, "There is no way." Then you will finally understand there was a way. You simply could not see it yet. My beloved brothers and sisters, if you remember only one thing from this reminder, remember this. Never judge what Allah can do by what you can currently see. Maybe today every door looks closed. Maybe you have tried everything you know. Maybe you are tired of waiting, tired of wondering, tired of asking when something will finally change. But your story does not end where your understanding ends. Sometimes Allah closes the door you wanted because another direction is better. Sometimes He delays the answer because the timing matters. Sometimes He removes what you were depending upon so your heart learns where true dependence belongs. And sometimes He allows you to reach the point where you see absolutely no way forward, only to teach you that His power was never limited by your possibilities. So do not panic because you cannot see tomorrow. You were never asked to control tomorrow. You were asked to trust Allah today. Make your dua. Take the next right step. Work with what Allah has placed in your hands. Correct what needs correcting. Remain patient when patience becomes difficult, and never allow desperation to push you towards something that takes you away from Allah. If one door closes, do not believe every door has closed. If one person leaves, do not believe everyone will leave. If one opportunity disappears, do not believe your provision has disappeared with it. If one plan fails, do not believe your future has failed. Allah is greater than the plan that collapsed. And perhaps one day you will look back at this exact moment and realize that the thing you called the end was actually a turning point. You will understand why that door did not open. You will understand why you had to wait. You will understand why certain people could not continue with you. And perhaps you will thank Allah for answers that once looked like disappointments. Until that understanding comes, keep walking. Not because you know exactly where the road leads, but because you know who is guiding you. My beloved brothers and sisters, if your heart is saying tonight, I cannot see a way, change just one sentence. Say, I cannot see the way yet, because there is a huge difference. Your eyes may not see it, your mind may not understand it, your circumstances may not suggest it, but Allah is not limited by any of them. So trust Allah when the road is clear, trust Allah when the road becomes difficult, and especially trust Allah when there appears to be no road at all. Because sometimes the most beautiful chapter of your life begins with the moment you thought there was nowhere left to go. If this reminder reached your heart, share it with someone who is facing an impossible situation today and remind them of this. You do not need to see the way before you trust Allah. Trust Him, keep moving, and never let what looks impossible make you forget who makes the impossible possible.